It's time for The Verdict. The Verdict is a lively discussion of current events and legal issues pertinent to Oklahomans. The Verdict is hosted by Kent Myers and Mick Cornett. It's time for The Verdict.
And good morning. Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, and another exciting show today, Kent.
Well, in our old familiar 9 o'clock Sunday morning time slot, and we welcome our guests, visitors back to watch us in the slot that we really do prefer, and we're glad to be home. By the way, happy Easter to you.
Thank you very much. I noticed you have your tie on.
Yes, I'm going to hunt eggs just as soon as we're through. I don't find very many, but I love the hunt. We've got a show today, Mick, that's got a name that means a lot. It's called The Patient Healer, and that has a double meaning that we'll get into more as we visit with our guests this morning. But today we're going to be talking about the profession of physical therapy, what's involved with it, how one does it, how one gets qualified to do it, and the tremendous benefits that are given to patients because of it, and the strains that may be present on the people doing the healing.
That's right. Doug Arnold, Marty Ferretti, our guest on today's edition of The Verdict, so stay with us.
How much are you paying for internet service? $21? $23? Aren't you being charged too much? We think so. With People PC Online, you get unlimited internet access for only $10.95 a month. Go to peoplepc.com now to try us free for 30 days and compare us with your current ISP. With People PC Online, you get internet service for less than half of what the big guys cost. And that's just the beginning. You also get more local access numbers than AOL, plus a smart dialer that automatically chooses the fastest, most reliable number. So you always get the best connection. All for just $10.95 a month. Try People PC Online free for 30 days and see for yourself. Go to peoplepc.com for a quick 3-minute download of our easy-to-use software. Or call 1-800-620-7123. People PC Online, a better way to internet.
KSBI's primetime lineup has changed.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Schlemiel.
Family favorites every weekday.
Get out and go wait over there by my car. I'm still banging on my ride.
Tune in to KSBI TV for all your favorites.
You are about to enter the most fascinating...
KSBI, covering the state of Oklahoma with family-friendly favorites.
Own a timeshare? Sell it for cash. Own a campground membership? Sell it for cash. Now's the perfect time to buy, sell, or rent your timeshare for cash. Call right now for your free information kit to buy, sell, or rent your timeshare or campground membership for cash. Be one of the next 200 callers for your free information kit, and we'll include 10 secrets to buy or sell your timeshare by vacations only. Buy, sell, or rent your timeshare for cash. Call now. Don't wait to pay another maintenance fee or tax bill. It's a free call, so call now.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guests.
Today we're really pleased to have Marty Ferretti across the table from me, joining us again for her second visit. Marty is the chair of the Department of Rehabilitation Science at the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center. She's a licensed physical therapist and holds the Elam Plowman Chair in Physical Therapy at OU. She has an undergraduate degree from the University of Minnesota and her master's in public health from the University of Oklahoma. This is, as I said, her second visit. Marty, welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
my left is Doug Arnold. Doug is a licensed physical therapist. He practices at the McBride Clinic at their location in Edmond. He has his Bachelor of Science in Physical Therapy from the University of Oklahoma. He's a certified he's certified by the National Athletic Trainers Association, as well as being licensed as a physical therapist. He's a former physical therapist and trainer for the New Orleans Saints Football Club. He has 20 years experience in the field of physical therapy, but this is his first visit. I hope not his last. Doug, welcome.
Thank you very much.
We're glad to have
be
you
here. Glad to be here.
Marty, I think we all have some idea what physical therapy is, but how do you define it? What is physical therapy?
Well, we tell all people who are interested in physical therapy that this is a profession of people dedicated to promoting health, but more importantly, or in addition to that, interested in preventing any disability that we can, helping people get back to doing activities that are important to them to continue their lives, or we're involved in teaching people new ways to be involved in their activities so that they can be successful.
Well, Doug, are you only involved after an injury, or is physical therapy something that people can undertake, or is a physical therapist involved in a 100% healthy human being?
We can be involved in all aspects. Typically, the setting where I work now is predominantly after an injury has occurred. In the school setting, is the athletic trainer side of it, we're involved in both the rehab and prevention.
When you have an athlete has surgery and they want to be back to 100%, what's typical? 90, 95, 100, 105%? Can you actually sometimes make someone better than they were before, or is that just a $6 million man type?
I think you can make somebody stronger than they were before, more balanced as far as strength from a standpoint of for example, on a knee, the hamstring to quadricep ratio, basically you can get them better and more balanced than they were before the injury.
And I suppose if a particular patient has a defect that was physical, not necessarily injury related, physical corrected, and then goes through physical therapy, they could be, in fact, better than they were before. Right. Because they've gotten that inherent defect taken care of.
Definitely, I feel that they could.
Marty, let me ask you, physical therapists don't just act alone. They usually act in relationship to other members of the healthcare profession. How do physical therapists relate to physicians and others in the healthcare area?
Well, in physical therapy, like in all of the other healthcare professions today, we're talking more and more about how to work together as team members. That can be a team member of a physical therapist and an occupational therapist, or a physical therapist and a physician. In this country, 39 states have direct access for patients to physical therapists. Oklahoma has direct access for patients to receive evaluation, but then we work closely to get a prescription for treatment. Eventually, we'll have direct access here. Regardless of whether a state has direct access or not, we intend to be partners in the health care of the patients that we see.
Is there a good reason that states don't have direct access? And what's the rationale behind not having direct access?
Physical therapists have defined their scope of practice so much more in a much more detailed way, so that I think the rest of the healthcare professions are much more comfortable and confident in the expertise of physical therapists. Also, the education of physical therapists has increased considerably in the last several years. Accreditation requirements now require that graduates of physical therapy programs have a post-baccalaureate degree. At OU, we have a master's degree, and we are now proposing a clinical doctoral degree. So the educational level of physical therapists is increasing dramatically as well.
Doug, we know that physicians have the Hippocratic Oath, and lawyers have a code of ethics that they are supposed to follow. Do physical therapists have the same kind of restrictions and encouragement?
Yes, we do. We do.
Just generally, what's involved in the code of ethics, and what happens if one should not follow it?
Well, I think the code of ethics is designed to help protect the patient, and if one doesn't follow that, we are subject to go before the board for corrective measures.
Now, the
or
board
disciplinary.
is what organization?
We have a physical therapy advisory committee that is advisory to the Oklahoma Medical Board of Licensure and Supervision, and so
it's a state board.
It is a state board, yes, and we're licensed through that board, and any reports of questionable practice is brought to the PT advisory committee. That group hears the case and then makes a recommendation to the overall board.
So there can be disciplinary action in that regard.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
I'm interested in the relationship between a doctor and the physical therapist. It would seem to me that typically, or what might be typical, would be that a patient would see a doctor and there would be some sort of corrective procedure going, and then they would go to a physical therapist to try to improve. Do the doctor and physical therapist communicate? Do they talk and monitor each other's work, or how does that work?
We certainly report back to the referral source for any of our patients the progress that the patient is making. And if there's any question in our mind about some aspects of treatment that we would like to initiate, but we're not sure about what the surgical procedure was, or we want clarification about some of the medications that the patient is on or not on. We're in close communication all the time with the referral source and, as you say, a physician if the physician is doing the referring.
If there was some problem in the surgery and maybe the surgery was not successful, is it likely that a physical therapist would be consulted, or might be the one that alerts the doctor and the patient that there may be a problem with the surgical procedure, or how would that take place?
Typically, we won't see a patient until the physician or the surgeon is certain that the patient is ready to begin physical therapy. We're very cautious when we first see patients to make sure that the healing has occurred as was intended, and if we have any suspicion that something is bothersome, we'll contact the surgeon right away. Doug certainly has a lot of experience with that.
Well, Doug, is it a rewarding profession? I mean, because sometimes the progress is so incremental.
Oh, very much so rewarding. People come in and obviously something has happened in their life that has been unfortunate, whether it be skiing injury or basketball injury. Having somebody come in that is very down and in a lot of pain, and then in a matter of weeks, a matter of months, runs out of the clinic and back to the sport or activity that they really enjoy. That makes it so rewarding.
When you deal with athletes, I would think you almost need to be a psychologist, because there's some athletes you're going to have to try to motivate, and there's some you're probably going to have to say slow down. And how do you deal with that?
That's exactly right. You have to deal with each person individually. Some people have difficulty becoming motivated to do their exercises. In most cases with the athlete, it's the other side where you have to slow them down to help protect the surgery or the correction that's been performed, and get them to follow a specific set of guidelines or time frame to get back to that activity or that level.
Let me jump in here and get us to a break. Doug Arnold, Marty Ferretti, we're discussing physical therapy. You're watching The Verdict, and we'll be right back.
Injury victims. If you or a loved one has been injured as a result of a motor vehicle accident, a slip and fall, or because of a doctor, hospital, or nursing home mistake, call the law offices of Friedman & Associates at 1-800-516-4181. That's 1-800-516-4181. Again, if you or a loved one has been injured as a result of a motor vehicle accident, a slip and fall, or because of a doctor, hospital, or nursing home mistake, call 1-800-516-4181. That's 1-800-516-4181. Big insurance companies have lawyers fighting for them, protecting their interests. Our lawyers will fight for you to get the money you deserve, the money the law entitles you to. There are deadlines for bringing injury claims. Call now to protect your legal rights. Call 1-800-516-4181. That's 1-800-516-4181. The call is free. There are no legal fees unless you get money. Call the law offices of Friedman & Associates at 1-800-516-4181. 1-800-516-4181.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, For it is the power of God to salvation. Romans 1, verse 16. I'm Timothy Sparks.
And I'm Ben Bailey. We hope that you'll join our broadcast, The Gospel of Christ, every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. right here on KSBI and study God's Word with us. This broadcast is brought to you by loving, caring members of the Church of Christ.
American Express Tax and Business Services. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. American Express Tax and Business Services. In Oklahoma City, the phone number is 405-843-5311.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett, Kent Myers, our guests are Doug Arnold and Marty Ferretti. We've been discussing physical therapy. Kent, where to next?
I'd like to address in part because of something you just said before the break, and that is dealing with the patient and the patient's motivations and all. Marty, tell our viewers, just in an overview, what's generally involved in the curriculum to become a physical therapist. What kind of academic regimen does a student have to complete?
Applicants to the physical therapy program at OU must complete 90 credit hours of prerequisite coursework, which includes courses that range from human anatomy to physics to chemistry, psychology, sociology, and a large variety of other courses as well. Students either should have finished their bachelor's degree or be able to finish their bachelor's degree after the first year of the 3-year program that our physical therapy program is. They're well prepared then to enter into the professional program, which is then 80 credit hours of professional coursework, which again is more anatomy, applying chemistry and physics, principles to courses that they're taking that are specific to intervention and treatment that we provide, as well as courses like pharmacology and pathology, and a whole array of social science-oriented courses.
Let me follow up on that. I know in the typical law school curriculum, you go to law school, you get your law degree, you pass the bar, you're ready to go.
Right.
In the medical profession, it's quite different. You go through your training, and then you have internships and residencies and things that put you in direct patient contact. How is it in the physical therapy?
We have, in our program, we have 5 clinical education courses in which students do internships throughout the curriculum. In the last year, the students do 2 full-time clinical rotations, which then allows them to sit for licensure and enter practice once they've finished.
Mm-hmm. Do you have specialists in the world of physical therapy, or is one physical therapist able to do it all across the board?
No, that's a great question. We tell our graduates that they are to be competent generalists when they finish our program. Very quickly, most therapists prefer to specialize and gain additional expertise in a variety of areas that range from sports physical therapy to pediatrics to geriatrics to cardiopulmonary rehabilitation. Areas such as that.
Where's the need? If you were advising someone where the job opportunities are, where's the largest needs? Which parts of those fields?
Well, certainly pediatrics is one. We have a growing number of children with developmental disabilities that enter a program here in this state called early intervention that we as physical therapists are heavily involved in, as well as in the public schools. Orthopedic practice is another very large area, as is sports physical therapy. And then another area that's growing dramatically is in the metabolic arena, dealing with people with obesity and type 2 diabetes across the age range, children as well as adults.
How would a physical therapist be involved in obesity?
Well, we are exercise specialists. We know a great deal about the human body and about metabolism. We know how to establish exercise programs. We believe that we're well oriented to helping motivate children as well as adolescents as well as adults. And we're working very closely now with people who specialize in metabolic disorders in medicine to join a partnership in helping address some of those issues.
Doug, you and I visited just a minute ago, but I've had occasion to see you and others work in the physical therapy area, and what I see is you going from patient 1 that may be having some trouble getting started to patient 2 who's going too fast, to patient 3 who doesn't know what to do, to patient 4 who may be struggling with the whole idea of having to come do this anyway, and yet you and your contemporaries there at McBride always have a smile on your face, or always moving briskly and with a good attitude. I just don't see how you do it day after day after day. A sunny disposition is important for the patient, but it must also be important for the physical therapist.
I think definitely it is. I think you have to understand where that patient has been, what they're going through, and I really think you have to listen to what the patient says. So many times a person comes in and they may have other issues going on in their life, not only the injury that you're seeing them for. And I think as long as you can be compassionate, yet lead them in the right direction to where, from a physical standpoint, we can get them back to where they want to be, I think that can be helpful. But the main thing is just to listen to what they're telling you and try to understand what they're going through.
Let me ask you another question, once again relating back to something we talked about in the first segment. I know that if a patient comes to McBride, for instance, they'll probably have a prescription that the doctor will have written some instructions on. Do you ever just get on the phone and call the physician and say, I think we've missed this, or should we be doing this? What kind of direct communication do you have?
Where I work, I'm fortunate we have surgeons in the same building, so I can just walk next door and we can discuss a problem a patient may be having. Maybe they're for example, a knee may be a little swollen, and that's something that we want to take care of. Different opportunities or different measures we can take to help control that. Or if somebody's having a certain problem, we can get them in to see the doctor and get that taken care of.
Well, let me follow up one more time with you. Is there a certain kind of a certain number of patients that you think would be a full Doug Arnold caseload, or does it depend upon the injury or the problem involved? How do you know whether you're overworked or underworked?
Oh, I think that's a good question. That's a good question. I always try to accommodate the patient. As you know, certain people have to come after school. We try not to cut into a student's time at school. We feel like their education is important, and we try to accommodate their needs. So we have times that are a little busier than others, and we just try to help the patient out. And if it gets to where it's too busy, to where I feel like I can't oversee or help these people in a realistic fashion, then that's when it's time to say that's too many.
Hey, Doug, from your work with the New Orleans Saints, what's the psyche and the atmosphere in an NFL situation? In other words, the stakes are so high to get this player back, or for not only for this player but for the team. I mean, there are literally lots of jobs on the line. There are millions of dollars in revenue on the line. It must be much different than what I think might be considered routine at where you work today.
Right.
What's the difference?
There's a big difference. The risk-reward factor is there. We have a lot of high school athletes that they may be undergoing an injury where it's their senior year, and they may want to take a risk to try to play that season. I think in that situation we discourage it. If somebody's getting paid millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars to get back in a certain time frame, then I think probably the reason is there to try to maybe take a risk of re-injury.
Well, and the chance of re-injury, obviously, in a National Football League game is great.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's always up to the athlete. So,
are you ever involved, or are physical therapists involved at the NFL level, right, in equipment and types of special equipment that might be involved to protect a player who's trying to come back from an injury, and things
yes.
are designed? And
athletic trainers and physical therapists work closely together, and there are many of us that are both licensed in physical therapy and certified.
Yeah, you're licensed in both.
Right.
Okay.
That would be more of an athletic trainer's duty to fabricate a piece of equipment or order a piece of protective equipment for somebody who's undergone an injury.
Marty, just a few seconds left. What are the trends in physical therapy? Anything on the horizon that our viewers might want to know about?
There certainly are. As other health professions are dealing with this, we in physical therapy are promoting the use of evidence to support all of our decisions in treating our patients. So our people who are graduating from our programs and people who are in the profession are really involved in understanding the literature and applying what's happening in research. Research is another huge demand, and at OU we're doing research just like faculty and other physical therapy programs across the nation, and we work with clinicians to do clinical studies as well. So those are two major areas that are really helping the profession to grow, just as is happening in medicine.
Marty, Freddie, Doug Arnold, thank you both for coming on The Verdict. I learned a lot.
Thank you very much.
Kent and I'll be back with the final word after this.
Heritage Hall, an independent college preparatory school. Here we celebrate our scientists, our athletes, our mathematicians, and our future artists.
Our students love to learn. A welcoming school for children aged 3 through grade 12. We are a community. We are a family. We are Heritage Hall.
An important message for users of the drug Vioxx.
The FDA warns that those who take Vioxx may double their risk of heart attack, stroke, or even sudden cardiac death.
On September 30th, 2004, the largest prescription drug recall in history was issued for Vioxx. However, researchers have suggested that Vioxx should have been withdrawn years earlier.
Merck, the multi-billion-dollar manufacturer of Vioxx, may be to blame for your heart attack or stroke. You could be entitled to a large cash award, but you need to act now to preserve your legal rights.
The law firm of Robert Goldwater and their affiliates know how to make companies like Merck pay for their mistakes. Call for a free case review today. Get the justice and financial compensation you deserve.
Have you or a family member been the victim of a Vioxx-caused heart attack or stroke? Call the law firm of Robert Goldwater right now. Get the compensation the law entitles you to. Call 1-800-421-5200. That's 1-800-421-5200.
Say millions of we Americans are now taking pharmaceutical drugs, and they're darn good at erasing a symptom a few hours at a time or until we take another drug. Folks, we don't want to be beholden to the drug companies. Wouldn't you rather really understand what we call the etiology or the root cause of why you have to take that medicine? That's where my show, Know the Cause, comes in very, very handy. I'm Doug Kaufman, host of the show. You can see it 1 full hour right here on KSBI every day.
And Blankenship has stopped at the line of scrimmage. No gain on the play, leaving it 4th and 7 on the Tiger 46-yard line. With 38 seconds on the clock, the Tigers have no choice but to go for it. Wiggins had to do the kicking. Here's the snap, and the kick is away.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Just a few seconds left. Go ahead and give you some website information on the screen that will allow you to go to these websites and get more information from our two guests on physical therapy.
Well, our two guests were really are among the best in the profession, and we're pleased they could join us. The title of this show, The Patient Healer, because that's really what these people are. They heal patients, but they are patient in the process of bringing about the healing process. They are just terrific.
And in addition to the two websites that you've seen, we invite you to go to our website, theverdict.tv. Write us, tell us what you'd like to see on a future edition of The Verdict. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett, and we'll see you next Sunday morning right here on The Verdict.